Hello! Tonight, we don't need to go anywhere to find peace. Just let your body slow down by one simple breath and allow your mind to drift gently into that space. Just dark enough, just warm enough for the universe to hold you. Imagine you're floating right at the outer edge of a space so wide that no word can fully describe it. There is no sound, no wind, only a soft, pale glow expanding in front of you. Calm, low, and quiet, like the universe breathing, right before it falls asleep. Tonight, we'll talk about that, about the world unfolding in front of you, slowly, tenderly, and deeper than anything light has ever told. So now, let's begin. Let your thoughts keep drifting, following the quiet momentum of the beginning, as if you were lying in that soft, suspended place, between waking and a sleep that hasn't fully arrived. Awake just enough to watch something gently widening in front of you. Here, where the faint light of the universe reveals only the thinnest outline, size starts to lose its meaning, not because it's too large to measure, but because it's too quiet for you to care. Like looking at an ocean from very high above, you no longer know which part is closest, which part is farthest. Everything blends into one endless, gentle plane. The universe is like that. It doesn't expand within your field of view. It unfurls softly, long and even, like a sheet of silk being pulled, without tearing a single thread. And from this angle, you start to see a different domain of existence, a domain that belongs less to numbers and more to feeling. If you drift just a little slower, only a little, you'll notice that large is no longer a fixed idea. The galaxy in front of you, once the biggest thing you could imagine, now becomes a small blur of light, floating on a black canvas. Not solid, not sharp, not dominating, just glimmering softly, like the last lamp left on in a vast, empty house. Try letting your vision stretch. One breath further. Not much, just one breath. And then you see others. One, then two, then 10, then hundreds, scattered like golden dust, caught in a still pocket of air, in an attic. Each speck is a galaxy, a world, a sky, a tiny universe within the greater one. But from here, they all look the same. No spirals, no arms, no bright yellow cores, just soft points of light, placed gently on the infinite surface of space, not because they are identical, but because you have gone far enough. That difference dissolves into harmony. Notice that this isn't the feeling of becoming smaller, it's the feeling of opening, like when someone quietly opens a door to the backyard, and suddenly the whole room seems to breathe a little wider. The universe is doing that for you, not with air, but with scale. Scale is the first thing you lose on this journey, but losing it is not a loss. It is a release. In the waking world, everything demands to be measured. How tall? How heavy? How long? How far? How fast? But here, in this slow drifting space, nothing needs measuring. Those questions fall from your shoulders, like a coat slipping off. When you step inside a warm room, you are left only with expanse. Expanse not through sight, but through sensation, like standing alone on a midnight beach. hearing the wind without knowing its direction, hearing the waves without knowing their distance, only knowing they are there. Now, return to the nearest galaxy in your view. This time, don't look at it as an object. Look at it as a reference point for how the universe stretches. Look gently into it. No strain. Just let it appear as a comfortable smear of light in your mind. You'll notice it isn't still, not spinning too fast, not shifting too strongly, but certainly not motionless. Something is pulling it, or pushing it, or letting it drift along a current you cannot yet see, but you don't need to know what that current is. You only need to know that it exists. And, strangely, it carries you too. Not because you move, but because the space beneath you moves. If you look farther once more, you'll begin to see other galaxies. Not just passing, but flowing. They're not solitary. They're strung together, aligned along arcs that your eyes can't trace, but your mind can feel. This is the backbone of the universe. Threads of light, stretching hundreds of millions of years, where galaxies gather into clusters, clusters into chains, chains into branches, like colossal rivers. But this still isn't the true scale. This is only the first layer, the soft blur, of a map far larger than you imagined. If you drift a little longer, no rush, just enough to sense a new layer, opening on its own, you'll see that those galaxy chains, once unimaginably vast, are merely tiny vessels inside something greater, a body, called the cosmic web. But you don't need the name. You only need to see it. From here, the cosmic web is no longer a network. It's a textured mist, like condensation on glass, outlined by the light behind it. Light defines the structure. Dark defines the gaps. And between them, the universe finally becomes clear. Not the universe of solitary galaxies, but the universe of connection. Connection is what you see. When you stop focusing on objects, connection is what appears. When your vision blends with the background, connection is what the universe has been trying to show you from the beginning. But human eyes are often too busy counting the stars one by one. Now, in this moment, as everything softens into gentle specks, the connections begin to reveal themselves. Slow, faint, but certain. Light curves, as if drawn by someone, with a brush dipped in diluted ink. Not straight, not perfect, not geometric, but meaningful. You don't know the meaning, but it feels right. These curves link one galaxy to another, not by path, but by tendency. A galaxy lies here because others lie there. A shimmer appears here because another went dim, far away. Together they form depth, not the depth of distance, but the depth of continuation. Nothing in the universe stands alone. Even emptiness doesn't stand alone. It connects to other emptinesses, shaping the spirit of space through its very absence. And you, drifting here, begin to feel that the universe isn't built from light. It is built from rhythm. At every scale, the rhythm changes, but the rhythm remains. Small scale, the spin of stars. Medium scale, the drifting of galaxies. Large scale, clusters pulling one another. Vast scale, the cosmic web stretching. And beyond them all, the rhythm of expansion, the most honest rhythm of the universe. You can't hear it, but you can feel it, just as you can't hear the heartbeat of someone standing beside you, but you feel their warmth spreading gently toward you. The universe has that warmth, the warmth of expansion. When you sense this, your sense of scale shifts again, not larger, not smaller, just fainter. Boundaries dissolve. Galaxies stop being separate. Darkness stops opposing light. Everything becomes a single layer of mist, with patches of brightness and patches of shadow. And that is when you finally enter the scale of the universe, a scale no longer held in your hands. It slips through your fingers like fine sand, ungraspable, but undeniably present. A feeling that is very quiet, very wide, very high, very deep, and very light. And this is only the beginning. When the universe's scale has fully opened, when you've let yourself drift long enough for every boundary to dissolve into a soft, luminous mist, you begin to sense that beneath this vastness, there is another essence waiting to be seen. Something not made of light, not made of emptiness, something that lives between the two. Or perhaps something that existed before either of them appeared. Here, in the second quiet layer of the journey, we go deeper. Not by moving closer to any object, but by letting a concept step forward on its own. It doesn't show itself as shape. It arrives as a feeling of direction, of tendency, of emotion you cannot see, but somehow know. To begin, ask a question so gentle, it feels like a breath. What holds this universe together? Not matter, not light, not the drifting galaxies. All of those are merely signs of a deeper order, maintaining the entire landscape before you. If your mind slows to the right rhythm, you'll realize the core idea of this layer is not galaxy, not cluster, not cosmic web, but this: how everything in the universe chooses its place, not by force, not by accident, but through a subtle preference, soft, quiet, almost tender, like dust settling on a table, never forming sharp patterns, never landing as a perfect shape, just arranging itself as if the table held a silent idea of where each grain belonged. The universe is the same. It has its own sense of thickness and thinness, of bright and dim, of where light should gently reside. Imagine standing before a vast, untouched canvas, and someone patient is placing dots of light onto it, not in lines, not in patterns. Each dot appears in silence, yet all connect in ways you cannot see, but can somehow feel. This is the universe's first essence. The universe knows how to distribute itself. To make that clearer, let's use a softer metaphor. Imagine the universe is a lake, a very wide lake, so wide you cannot see the shore, so still you cannot tell whether it moves at all. If you drop a single bead of ink into it, the ink will not spread as a perfect circle. It spreads according to small shifts in flow, tiny variations in heat, subtle currents you cannot see, but the lake can. Galaxies spread like that ink. They drift to the places, the universe's gentle currents, whispered toward, and that leads to the second essence. Space is not empty. It has a hidden structure that ordinary eyes cannot see. When you look into a dark region, you assume it is void. But truly, it is like a room without its light on. The furniture is still there. Your eyes simply haven't adjusted. In the universe, that furniture is the tiny curvature of space-time. Waves so soft, you only notice them when you see their effect on everything, everywhere. So when galaxies appear uneven, not in lines, not in repeating patterns, that is not chaos. It is obedience to an invisible map where each point of light has a reason to be exactly where it is. Some call this gravity. Some call it curvature. Some call it metric expansion. But in this sleepy layer, you don't need the names. You only need to know that the universe flows according to its own shape, like water follows the riverbed, not because water knows the way, but because the river quietly guides it. The universe also flows, and what it follows is not a map of light, but a map of possibility. Let's soften the image even more. Imagine a vast room where candles are placed far apart. Each candle casts a pale halo, and these halos meet, blend, touch, but never overpower each other. The universe is that room. Galaxies are the candles, and the essence of the universe is the soft overlap between their lights, where brightness fades, but never disappears. Nothing is ever truly dark. Some places simply hold light too thin for the eye to notice. When you see a void in the cosmic web, it isn't empty. It is simply where the light is too faint to trace the structure. In that darkness, space-time still curves. The flow still moves. The universe's rhythm remains untouched. You may think of the cosmic web as a great root system, but ordinary roots are solid. The cosmic web is soft, almost like diluted light. It doesn't rise from the darkness, as objects do. It fades into it, like a passing thought. And when a galaxy sits at the end of one of those roots, it is not random. It sits there because the entire route suggested the place. This is the third essence. Space leads. Light only follows. You don't need the Riemann tensor or the Friedmann equations. In this layer, you only need the picture. Space is the water. Light is the ink. A galaxy is a gathering, a quiet pooling of ink, where the current slows and cools and softens. If you could touch it, it wouldn't feel hard. It would feel like smoke, with the weight of presence. And as you drift farther, you realize you're not looking at astronomical structure at all. You are looking at the universe's leaning, the state from which all shape begins. Like seeing someone's mind instead of their actions, you've now gone deep enough to understand that everything which looked large in wave one was only the surface of a softer order beneath. A gentle, thin, quiet layer, but astonishingly resilient. You see galaxies. Beneath galaxies are clusters. Beneath clusters are filaments. Beneath filaments are basins. Beneath basins is curvature. And beneath curvature is something even softer. Something you cannot name, because it isn't a thing. It is a tendency to gather, a tendency to thin out, a tendency to follow curves, a tendency to create emptiness, a tendency to shape the light. The universe does not decide. It leans, like a leaf leans, toward the side the wind comes from, not by intention, but by invitation. And within that leaning, you begin to understand the true nature of what you are seeing. Nothing in the universe is in the right place. Nothing is in the wrong place. Nothing is accidental. Nothing is predetermined. Everything is the ongoing balance of gentle tendencies, and that is the nature of the universe. A self-breathing, self-flowing, self-balancing structure, woven from soft inclinations beneath the light. Not particle physics, not string theory, not multiverse speculation, just the universe, leaning into itself, like a sleeper leaning into a pillow, to find comfort. And if you let yourself lean with it, you'll sense a deeper layer, not deeper downward, deeper inward, into the universe's stillness, into the foundation, beneath every motion, into the place where everything receives its very first hint of shape, a layer that feels empty, yet too full for anything more, a layer that feels solid, yet soft as breath, a layer that feels still, yet drifts with the slowest rhythm the universe has. And just as you touch that quiet, another door opens softly, and there is something even deeper. In the third, deeper layer of the journey, after you've drifted past the wide scales and the soft, hidden textures beneath, there is what every sleepy science video needs: an anchor. A small human note, a tiny story placed inside the vastness, so the listener's heart has a rhythm to rest on and does not drift away in a sea of light and void. The universe is so immense that questions can feel meaningless, yet the small human whispers can set things back in proportion. So tonight we enter a story not to wake you, but to let the universe grow a little nearer. The story begins with a person, not a genius, not a hero, just a quiet scientist, someone who spent nights much like the one you are spending now, looking into the dark and trying to understand what it might be saying. His name is not important. The year he lived is not important. Country, prizes, titles not important. All you need to know is this: he was patient enough to listen to the universe's silence. Picture him sitting alone in the old observatory room. Not a noisy, high-tech lab, just a simple wooden room. A pale wooden desk, a window slightly ajar letting in night air, and a telescope standing near the railing. Moonlight is not bright, but enough to cast a silver line on the floor. He sits there, hand on a notebook, eyes at the eyepiece, not hunting for a new point of light, but trying to confirm something he felt and could not prove. A very faint band of light, so faint that others would call it noise, so faint that he himself doubted what he had seen for many years. Yet he kept returning, night after night, to check whether the band was stable or merely an instrument's shadow, because sometimes science does not begin with discovery. It begins with tireless repetition. He recorded every observation. Nothing changed much. The faint band remained, weak, not convincing enough to publish. Then came a night clearer than any other. You know that feeling, a night when the air seems washed? The sky like a spotless pane of glass. Everything sharper without effort. On that night, The faint band stopped being faint, not blazing, but bright enough to reveal its curve. Not straight, not random, a gentle arc, like the soft stroke of a hand trying not to tremble. He froze. A moment when time inhales slower, like when you see something unexpected, that startles not with fear, but with a soft surprise. He sits motionless for minutes, not wanting to breathe too hard and disturb what he sees, because one curve, only one, can be a sign of structure. And if there is structure, then the band is not noise, not confusion, not error. It is truly there. But he did not believe at once. A gentle scientist never rushes to trust the eye. So he tested again. Cover the lens. Uncover. Cover again. Adjust brightness. Adjust focus. Wait for clouds. Wait hours for stars to shift. Each time he looked, the curve remained. Slow. Delicate. But real. The real aha came later, when he tried to connect that speck of light to others. Imagine him with pencil, kneeling on the wooden floor, spreading his star chart, plotting every recorded point from years. 1 dot, 2, 3, scattered no order, like dust falling randomly on paper. He frowns. Something is off. He sits quietly, as if listening through a wall. Then he tilts the paper, not rotating to a known direction, just a subtle, odd angle. And in that tilt, a pattern appears. The dots align into a curve, not a straight line. A very slight, very soft curve, bending in a way no one would predict by looking head-on. That moment when supposed random dots arrange themselves into shape was his aha. No cheering, no thunder, just absolute silence. True discoveries do not make your heart race. They make it slow down like the light drifting through the universe. He says nothing for minutes, stares at the curve, realizing he's seen something no one had seen that way. A life of science seemed to lead to this, the universe exposing a tiny fold in its structure. But then came doubt. He'd learned enough to know first impressions can be wrong. So he wondered, am I mistaken? Is the chart old? Moonlight? Optical error? Dust on the lens? He returns to the observatory for a week. Every night he checks that spot. Every night he reviews the chart. Every night he compares with a different scope. The result is the same. The curve remains. Quiet. Stable. Unassuming. As if it had been there for billions of years. Only humans had never tilted the map at the right angle to see it. A week later he invites a colleague, just one. Someone he trusts, to see the in-between. They observe together. Imagine 2 people, late at night, by the eyepiece, 10 silent minutes, watching whether the universe is tricking them. Then the colleague whispers, I see it too. Not many words, but enough. That small confirmation makes the space feel clearer. They record data. They write a note. They send it out. No fanfare. No certainty. Only the hope others will check. Months later, the reply comes. 3 independent teams have observed the same curve. The moment is not triumph. It is a relieved sigh. Not victory, but confirmation that he had truly heard the universe's whisper. And that whisper is not about galaxies, not about clusters, not about light. It is about the invisible links that hold things together. A subtle hint of a deeper order one humans rarely see, if they only look at the bright parts. Imagine him standing before the old observatory, gazing at the patch of sky that haunted him for years, and realizing the universe had opened a small door to him, a door leading to an understanding that had been intuition before, a door which, once stepped through, changed everything that followed. When the little human story has settled like the last ripple fading on water, you begin to feel yourself lifted back into the wider space. That small tale, though tiny, has a strange effect. It makes the universe feel softer, less threatening, less foreign, as if you had just been introduced to a gentle giant, and now you can look at them with calmer eyes. Now, as you drift onward, the ideas we've touched across layers, invisible links, the universe's silent currents, the gentle curves that lead light into place, start to expand, not only at the scale of galaxies or filaments. They are ready to spread across everything that exists, from where you stand to the farthest edges light has ever traveled. This idea is no longer simply gravity or curvature or cosmic structure. Those words, though correct, are tidy labels we place on phenomena too vast to hold in thought. Here, what you feel has no name. It is more like an environment, a substrate everything in the universe is dissolving into. Think again of the essence you just touched. The universe doesn't place objects by command, but by tendency. A slight curvature, a pressure of spreading, a soft current, a map of possibility. Things not seen, but always present. At small scales, galaxies, clusters, filaments, these tendencies are hints, like faint pencil lines under a wash of ink. But pull the scale wider, farther, vaster, and those hints become the panorama. They become the painting itself. Drift one breath more. As you step back from the cosmic web, you see what few have pictured correctly. The universe is not a flat network like a geographic map. It is not a stretched fabric. It is not a rigid structure of straight beams. It is like a vast mist, where denser patches of light mark the gathering of thousands of galaxies, and darker regions are places where light is too thin to see but not empty. All of it seems to breathe together, though separated by billions of light years. A single breath, long, neither hot nor cold, just existence expanding. Let your eyes follow a galaxy cluster, a great cluster, so large that the Milky Way, your home, is only a speck of light on its edge, no more than a fleck of chalk on a floor. Up close, the cluster looks like scattered stones on black velvet. Step away, and it melts into the form of a supercluster, a population of light too soft to hold a boundary. Think of Laniakea, a region so wide that length turns into rhythm. You don't count distance. You feel the spreading. This is the moment physics begins to nudge toward gentle philosophy. You no longer see galaxies moving away because of expansion. You see the universe opening room for them. You no longer see clusters belong to a gravity well. You see they drift in the same breath. You no longer see filaments as structure. You see filaments as the brushstrokes of the painting. Technical words void, redshift, lensing, density, contrasts step back. They do not vanish. They remain as the skeleton of the body you now sense by rhythm rather than by anatomy. What you now perceive is the universe from a vantage not human anymore. If you step further back, the small details, branches of filaments, voids, clusters blur like folds in fabric from a distance. Everything begins to melt into a single gentle layer of light, with thicker and thinner patches like clouds at dusk. At this scale, The universe is a glassy mist, soft, light, long, and utterly edgeless. You notice something odd. When seen from far enough, the universe is no longer big. It becomes delicate. Delicate as a fingerprint. Delicate as the trace of water on glass. Delicate as a sleeper's breath. Gone is the overwhelm of giant galaxies. Gone is the forceful drama of expansion at scale. Gone is the grandeur of superclusters, stretching for billions of light years. Only the subtlety of a structure woven from stillness remains. You do not look with your eyes now, but with its rhythm. To widen further, step back until no cluster stands out from another. All sink into the great fog, where light briefly loses its identity. And here is the truth you only grasp at extreme scale. The universe, when seen from far enough, is not many objects. It is a field, an expanse, a breath present everywhere. Galaxies are no longer galaxies. Clusters are no longer clusters. Filaments are no longer filaments. They are like light dust sprinkled across the surface of an unnamed medium. Some call it space-time. Some call it a manifold. Some call it the cosmic fabric. You need not name it. What matters is the feeling. The universe becomes a single, undivided mass, without parts, without layers. And in that mass, what you once thought far becomes near. What you once thought small becomes a single stroke in the larger painting. What you once thought center becomes one gathering point among many. This feeling does not make you tiny. It makes you belong. You belong to this place as any galaxy belongs to its position. Not by purpose, not by arrangement, but because in a structure so soft, so vast, so still, every point has its place. And now, when you exist within a scale that cannot be measured, you begin to understand a core truth. The universe is not big. It simply has no edge, no outside, no end, no apex, no falling off. And when there is no edge, every direction is center. So are you. This is the shift from physics to gentle philosophy. Not daydreaming, but seeing the deepest shape of being. And when that perception soaks in, you feel something hard to name. A vastness without being lost. You drift in an edgeless space, but you do not fall. You do not slide. You are not pulled anywhere. You simply are there, held, still. Like the suspended note at the close of a piece, no need to resolve, no need to end. In this moment, you begin to know the universe in a rare way, not by its structure, but by its breath. A breath not fast, not forceful, not urgent, but expansive like a wind across a vast field, so light you feel it in the heart, not the ear. And when you feel that rhythm, the scale of the universe truly unfolds. Not in millions of light years, not in billions, not in 93 billion. No number is sufficient to contain it. Because what you feel is not size, it is the scope of existence itself. And as soon as you touch that scope, the universe gently turns a small angle, revealing another layer, deeper, quieter, more abstract, as if another door is opening just beyond your sight. There is a strange thing that happens. When you go deep enough into the nature of the universe, then step far enough back to see its continuity, you begin to meet paradoxes. Not the kind that makes you jump up, argue with yourself, or fight with someone else. Not the headache kind, This is a soft paradox, a gentle contradiction that glides through your mind like mist, leaving a tender sense that things are not quite as you thought. And oddly, that makes the universe feel closer, not farther, because the universe does not operate the way humans expect. It operates the way it finds natural. And sometimes that naturalness yields outcomes opposite to intuition, neither wrong nor right, just the way they are. Let yourself drift into these paradoxes like slipping into warm water. Do not resist. Do not overanalyze. Just watch and breathe with their rhythm. For the universe, though unimaginably vast, is full of curved points that linear logic cannot touch. And when you look at those curves, they begin gently to tell their own story. Paradox 1. The more the universe expands, the more we see the past. When you gaze at the night sky, you think you look at the present. But each star is a door into time, the farther, the older. Everything before you has already happened. Nothing in that night sky occurs right now in the pure sense. What you see is the slowness of light, not a physical slowness alone, but time stretching across space. This creates a strange feeling. You live in a universe where the past is larger than the present. Not larger in time, but larger in spread. A galaxy 100 million light years away is the galaxy of 100 million years ago. The present universe is nearly unobservable, thus the paradox. The larger the universe, the more it eludes your grasp. What you see is always what once was. Yet it is not sad. It is quiet, like listening to last night's rain, though the sky is clear now. Paradox 2. The void holds more meaning than the light. People assume light tells the universe's story. But at great distances, most of the universe is void. Not void as nothing, but void as not yet bright enough to tell its tale. The void becomes more important than the light. Void shapes the regions of brightness. Void stretches the structure. The darkness is the soil from which light grows. So the paradox. The universe is built by things you cannot see. You see stars, but it is the dark between them that forms their places. You see galaxies, but voids pull them into shape. You see light, but darkness gives it contour. In this layer, darkness is quietly beautiful, soft, present, keeping the rhythm. Paradox 3. The largest things vanish when you come near. A galaxy cluster looks like a vast bright patch from afar, but as you approach, it dissolves into galaxies. Closer still, into stars. Closer, into dust. And finally, into energy vibrations. No cluster, no shape. From afar, a colossal blotch. Up close, countless unconnected points. Like a cloud, a mass from distance, vapor up close, deeper paradox. Structure exists when you are far enough to miss detail. Zoom in, and the universe dissolves. Zoom out, and order emerges. This reverses human expectation. We zoom in to clarify. Here, zooming out reveals order. A gentle paradox. It deepens the picture without changing it. Paradox 4. We do not see the universe as it is. The universe does not show us what it wants. Imagine standing in a boat, looking at a lake. You do not see the bottom. You see the waves' results. So it is with the universe. We see shapes made by light. Those shapes shift with expansion, curvature, motion, time. Some galaxies look large but are dim now. Some seem small but are far away. Voids may be full of dark energy. Bright patches may be stretched light from one distant source. We live within this paradox. Every observation is a soft illusion, not deceitful, an illusion made by distance, time, and light together. These illusions are kind, like a thin veil over a statue, softening the edges. Accepting them makes the universe approachable. You do not need to see correctly. You need only see enough to sense the hint. Paradox 5. The unknown is often the most important part. The universe hides more than it shows. Dark matter, dark energy, curvature, vacuum, quantum foam, inflation remnants. They make up most of existence to 95%, while light is to 5%. Paradox. 5% tells the story of 100%. Like hearing a full melody from one instrument. You do not see dark matter, yet galaxies swirl. You do not see dark energy, yet distances expand. You do not see vacuum energy, yet you feel the rhythm. The beauty is, the most crucial things need not shine. They act quietly like bass notes in a song, felt more than heard. Paradox 6. The more we understand, the more the universe resists being understood. The universe leaves no cheat sheet. It does not try to convey messages. It simply drifts and hints arise. We collect those hints, bind them into systems, and call them physics. But physics is a human language placed over much larger stillness. A page on an unnamed canvas. This yields a soft paradox. The more questions you ask, the more answers come from silence. Not from explosions, not from loud collisions, but from tiny whispers. A curvature, a drifting speck, a slight light offset. The universe does not shout answers. It lets them settle like dust. You notice them when you stand still. Paradox 7. The vaster it is, the more intimate it feels. Perhaps the sweetest paradox. The universe is too vast to fully grasp, yet gentle enough to make you feel belonging. When you look at a cluster larger than imagination, you do not feel tiny. You feel light. When you see the cosmic web, you do not feel lost. You feel part of a body whose structure you also belong to. When you look at voids, you do not feel lonely. You feel calm, like entering a wide, warm room. The universe is large, but not cold. Dark, but not empty. Far, but not neglectful. Silent, but not mute. These contradictions blend into one sleepy whole. And after drifting long among these paradoxes, you sense something faint but real. The universe may be subtler than we ever thought. When you have drifted through every way of seeing, from a tiny speck of light on black to a vague network of luminous threads, there is a nameless silence, a moment when every measure seems to pause and breathe. In that moment, you no longer look at the universe as an explorer, but as an inhabitant, not too curious, not too restless, simply with a feeling that is both new and familiar. This is when we need a leap, not in space, but in perspective. Try seeing everything at once, at many scales, as if you stand before a multi-layered map and stack its layers. To see what the map truly is, that is multi-scale, a way of seeing that small and large are not separate worlds, but variations of the same song. Begin with the Milky Way, our home, but do not stop there. From the outside, the Milky Way is a tilted band of light, a thin disk, a golden core, spiral arms, dust lanes like charcoal strokes. But move to a larger scale, and the Milky Way is a dot on the local group map, a small cluster in a vast lattice. Move one layer further, the local group folds into Laniakea. Laniakea sits among seas of superclusters. Superclusters merge into the network. The network becomes a stroke on a foggy fabric. When you join those perspectives, a surprise appears. Instead of fragmentation, you feel continuity, a rhythmic flow like music played by different instruments. Each instrument a frequency, but together forming a single rising melody. Imagine you stand in an endless corridor, and on each wall a window. Each window opens a scale, a small window for a planet, a larger one for a galaxy, another for a cluster, then a supercluster, and finally the whole cosmic web. Standing in one place and looking through all those windows at once, you do not see contradiction. You see relation. Those long streaks of light you once thought were separate are linked by subtle curves of force and the history of light. The little point you call us has lines to everything. The feeling of small but not lost arises here. Space is too large to hold entirely, yet the smallness you represent matters. A note in the song. You may think small means insignificant, but placed in the network, you are an anchor point. Every planet, every star, every galaxy is a mark on the map. No one abandoned, no one redundant. The universe is wide so that points can breathe, stories can unfold. The feeling is gentle, like a hand on your shoulder telling you you are not alone. At the largest scales, we meet strange forms, voids, vast hollows, like bowls between ridges of light. If you stand in a void in your imagination, you may at first feel isolated. But pause, and you realize the void is not emptiness, but a landscape with rhythm. Void highlights filaments. It defines where light gathers. Void is the silence in music, not emptiness, but the space that allows sound to exist. So the large, the broad emptiness, and the small points of light are present for each other. They build a shared language. As you widen your view beyond superclusters, you see the cosmic web, a delicate network stretching across space. Up close, the cosmic web is filaments, linking clusters, a structure with lines. From far away, it looks like ink blots on paper. Compare images across scales and you see. The filaments at large scale function like blood vessels. They transmit gravity, carry matter, guide galaxy growth. And in that transmission you sense intimacy. Each part of the web affects the rest. A small galaxy on a branch can be tugged, bent, slowed, or propelled by the shared flow. The mutual influence is so subtle you want to whisper, "I am not separate." Putting the listener at the universe's center does not put you on a throne. It places you in a viewpoint that sees connections. Center here is not a position of power, but a state of awareness. Imagine lying inside a sphere of soft light, looking out in every direction, seeing linking threads like vessels. At that center, every direction is visible, every link present, and you understand that center is not dominance, it is relation. You are small, but your ties, family of the sun, satellites, the local lights form a living center. Peace arises from that knowing. You have a place. You are a link. Seen this way, many familiar tensions between near and far, small and large, dissolve as perspective illusions. Often, a small event, say a galactic collision, triggers cascading effects on large scales. Spark waves of star formation, alter cluster structure, change satellite orbits. small ripples spread and, when converging, form the bright regions we call cosmic history. Like a leaf falling on a pond, the ring seems small, yet it reaches far, trembling outward. No point is entirely isolated. Every gentle action has an echo through space. Shifting from concrete comparison to gentle philosophy, you see the universe teach a lesson about correlation. Philosophy here is not lofty doctrine, but a simple insight. All existence is bound by quiet, persistent mechanisms. In human life, this maps to the idea that each person belongs to a community, not alone, not separate. The subtlety of the cosmos makes that philosophy real, not slogan. Living within a network, you naturally become part of it. That warmth is something no science can take away. There is another beauty in this thinking. You need not be very large to make impact. A star, a planet, an idea can begin a chain of change. Documentaries and studies often spotlight grand events, massive collisions, brilliant supernovae, major discoveries. But the universe also honors the small, slight deviations, gentle oscillations, seen only by a careful eye. It comforts. You need not shout to be heard. Contribute softly, and influence will follow. Now imagine you are not only a point on the map, but a storyteller, a witness. You carry your small story, the tale of a planet, of life, of nights, watching stars. When all such stories gather, the universe is no longer a cold sequence of events. It becomes a block of memories, a library of life and change. The cosmic web keeps those stories in its way, as streaks of light, as structure, as oscillations. Each time you tell, each time you observe, you add a vessel to the fabric of the cosmos. In this multi-scale view, a gentle paradox appears. You are small and you are central, insignificant and indispensable. That feeling does not worry you. It reassures. You are not the sole protagonist, but your story connects to others, and that connection creates meaning. Meaning is not an object to find. It is a state that emerges when parts reach certain density of intersection. As you slowly pull your view farther back, a subtle truth appears. The different scales do not fight for dominance. They cooperate. From particle to planet, planet to galaxy, galaxy to web, each layer has a role, and the roles do not conflict. Each layer holds part of the great harmony. How structures self-tune, self-adjust, self-balance is the lesson for anyone wishing to live resiliently and gracefully. No need to dominate. Interact gently and consistently. And as things become clear this way, your mind can release the urge to measure every number. Not because numbers are unimportant, but because meaning is not only in digits. Sometimes a quick glance at a dewdrop at dawn teaches you about light in ways a data table cannot. Likewise, experiencing cosmic scale by feeling is an art that science, as necessary as it is, only supports. At the end of this section, you feel you have seen a circle. From your small point you branched out to view all scales, and now return with a heart broadened by understanding. You are small but not lost, a link in the grand lattice, a note in the vast song. And another door opens ahead, deeper still, reachable only by those who keep their breath steady. There is yet another deeper layer. If you are still drifting in this space, just let your mind slow one breath more, as if the last light of a distant galaxy is fading at the edge of sight, leaving a faint halo, an image that has accompanied you through tonight's journey. That image, whether a galaxy cluster, a curve in the cosmic web, or a single speck of light on the black, is still hovering there, calm as a windless lake. You do not need to hold it. It will remain exactly where it belongs in that vast universe. And you now may let your breathing fall very slowly, one breath and another, as if each inhalation becomes a small part of that gentle expansion out there. Let a small gratitude drift through you like a breeze. Gratitude that tonight you were quiet enough to listen, patient enough to move with the universe through its layers, gentle enough to see everything with a wide, soft gaze. No need to understand it all. No need to remember it all. Just let the feeling that remains in you soften, like light dissolving into mist, thin, gentle, melting into darkness very naturally. Tonight the universe may continue to expand, and you may let yourself rest a while. So, if your eyelids have begun to feel heavy, if your mind is slowly sliding onto a soft plane, let it happen. Do not resist. Do not force yourself awake. Allow your body to drift into the warmest place of the night. Thank you for being here with me, in a very small moment inside a very large universe. And now, sleep well.